Ravipura was a quiet town, tucked away from the chaos of the cities. Its streets were lined with crumbling walls, small shops, and dusty playgrounds where children laughed and played under the watchful eyes of their parents. Life here was simple, predictable, until darkness crept in unnoticed. Anaya was 3, a tiny spark of joy in the town. She loved chasing butterflies near the mango trees, drawing circles in the dirt with sticks, and collecting bright-colored flowers for her mother. Her laughter echoed through the narrow lanes, a melody that made the entire street smile. But not everyone smiled with her. Ravi had lived in Ravipura for several years, a quiet man who kept mostly to himself. Neighbors described him as polite, a little too quiet, a little too curious about the children. Mahesh, his friend, had recently moved into town. Both men seemed harmless, even friendly, offering sweets to the children and small gestures of help that made their presence feel ordinary, almost trustworthy. Weeks before Anaya's disappearance, subtle signs had begun to emerge. Small complaints from children about being followed, whispers from mothers about men watching from doorways, and doors left slightly ajar at night. No one spoke up. No one wanted to believe that darkness could hide behind familiar faces. One rainy evening, Anaya and her parents attended the town festival. Lights flickered, drums beat in rhythm, and children danced in the puddles. She ran ahead of her parents, chasing a stray puppy, her small hand gripping the red ball she carried everywhere. Ravi and Mahesh were there, blending into the crowd, observing. No one could know what they were planning, or how close they had been to darkness that night. The next morning, tragedy struck. Anaya went missing. Her mother, Sita, had stepped away for only a few moments, but that brief lapse was enough. The town erupted in panic as neighbors, vendors, and parents joined the search. Every alley was checked, every street corner scanned, but Anaya was nowhere to be found. Hours later, she was discovered behind the old storage shed near the abandoned schoolyard. Her small body shook with fear. The red ball lay in the dirt beside her, a silent witness to the horror. The investigation revealed the unimaginable. Ravi had abducted her, committing a crime that would haunt the town forever. Mahesh had recorded the act, laughing as the innocence of a child was violated. Court hearings lasted months. Witnesses came forward. The town shared its fear, its pain, its anger. Every day, Sita and Rajan relived the terror. Justice finally arrived. Ravi received life imprisonment, and Mahesh 10 years for filming the crime. Relief washed over the family, yet it was fragile. Even after the verdict, the shadow lingered. Parents locked doors earlier, held children closer, and whispered warnings about trusting strangers, even familiar faces. Children hesitated before crossing streets, hesitant to play alone. The town was forever changed, and yet, life slowly returned. Anaya learned to smile again, though her parents watched every moment. The townspeople banded together, forming neighborhood watches and sharing a silent vow. No child would be left unprotected again. But Ravipura would always remember. The playgrounds would echo laughter again. But the story of the monster next door, the quiet men who hid evil behind smiles, would never fade. It was a chilling reminder. Innocence is precious, and darkness can lurk in the most familiar of places. Anaya's story is not just one of tragedy. It is a warning, a call to action. Speak up, protect the vulnerable, and never allow silence to empower evil. In Ravipura, every parent now watches a little closer, every neighbor listens a little harder, and the town, scarred but vigilant, has learned that monsters only thrive when the world looks away. The monsoon returned to Ravipura a year after the crime. Rain fell softly over the cracked walls and narrow lanes, washing away the dust but never the memory. The laughter of children had returned, timid at first, then stronger with time. Yet, beneath every smile was a quiet fear that refused to die. Anaya was 4 now. She clung to her mother's hand whenever they went outside, her red ball, once a symbol of her laughter, now tucked away in a wooden chest. Sita often caught her daughter staring at the sky, her tiny brows furrowed as though she was trying to remember something she could not understand. Rajan, her father, had changed too. His warmth had hardened into vigilance. He led the newly formed neighborhood watch volunteers, men and women who patrolled at dusk, their flashlights cutting through the shadows like blades. What had once been a town of trust was now a fortress of watchful eyes. Still, Ravipura was healing. The markets grew lively again, the festival returned, and the playgrounds echoed faint laughter. But peace in Ravipura was fragile, like glass, clear but one tremor away from shattering. The town gathered at the small square for a candlelight memorial. 1 year since Anaya's abduction. Lanterns floated into the night sky as children watched in awe. The elderly town observer, a man with silver hair and quiet eyes, spoke softly. "We can rebuild walls and homes, but trust must be guarded like fire. Never again should a child walk unprotected." As the crowd bowed their heads, Sita glanced at her daughter, safe, but still haunted. Anaya's small hand trembled in hers, and Sita knew healing was not just about justice. It was about reclaiming safety in their own hearts. Across the square, 2 police officers stood near a rusted gate. They spoke quietly about Mahesh, who was due for parole in 2 months. Ravi would never walk free again, but his accomplice might. The news spread like a spark in dry grass. Fear rippled through the crowd. "What if he comes back here?" someone whispered. "He wouldn't dare," Rajan replied, his voice firm but his jaw tight. A storm rolled in, and the lights flickered. Sita tucked Anaya into bed and stepped out to help Rajan close the windows. A knock came from the front door, soft, hesitant. Rajan froze. When he opened it, a drenched young man stood there, one of the neighborhood watch volunteers. "Sir, near the old schoolyard. Someone's been seen standing there, just watching." Rajan didn't hesitate. Within minutes, several men gathered, their flashlights cutting through the rain as they made their way to the abandoned schoolyard, the same place Anaya had been found. There, beneath the broken signboard, lay a single object, a red ball. For a moment, no one spoke. The rain hissed as Rajan picked it up, his heart pounding. The ball was old, caked in mud, but it was the same one. From the darkness, a shadow moved. The men turned, flashlights sweeping across the yard, only to find an empty bench, the rusted gate swinging in the wind. Whoever had been there was gone. The police found fresh footprints near the shed, leading toward the main road, but nothing else. No name, no face, just a reminder. Anaya woke to find the red ball sitting by her window. She smiled faintly, unaware of what it meant. Sita, on the other hand, broke into tears, of fear, of anger, of disbelief that the past might be reaching for them again. Rajan took the ball and placed it in a box, locking it away once more. "This time," he said, his voice shaking, "we'll be ready." Mahesh was denied parole after new evidence surfaced. Footage he had hidden years before, discovered in an old drive sold at a flea market. His laughter echoed through the video, proof that his remorse was a lie. The town erupted with both relief and rage. When the news reached Ravipura, lanterns were lit again. Not in mourning, but in defiance. Children returned to the fields, parents smiled through their scars, and the neighborhood watch volunteers grew into a permanent part of the community. The elderly observer stood at the edge of the playground one evening and whispered to Rajan, "Evil can visit any home, but it cannot live where people refuse to look away." Rajan nodded, watching Anaya play once more. The red ball rolled across the dirt, bright against the fading sun. For the first time in a long while, her laughter sounded free. As twilight descended on Ravipura, the town glowed, dim lights in windows, murmurs of evening prayers, and the gentle rhythm of normal life returning. Yet, every parent still looked twice, every neighbor still listened harder. Because in Ravipura, the story of the monster next door was more than a memory, it was a promise. Promise to protect. Promise to never be silent again. A promise that darkness, once unmasked, would never be allowed to return.